Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coach-your-PO. All lowercase, all one word, that's bit.ly/coach-your-PO. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello everybody, welcome to our TGIF, the Friday episode, and also Product Owner episode, this week with Paula Dunne. Hey Paula, welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
So Paula, on Fridays, we like to dive into product ownership, and especially we want to look at real life examples. So share with us what have been potentially some of the bad and good patterns you've seen on the product owner. Let's start with a bad example so that we end up the week on a high. So what's the worst product owner anti-pattern you've witnessed in your career?
Yeah, I don't like to think of bad product owners. I prefer to think of bad systems or cultures. So it's very rare that I would come across a product owner that is generally intentionally being a bad product owner. What I tend to find is individuals that are being asked to do a lot of different things. There could be individuals that are being measured on things that aren't necessarily reflective of the product that they're building, or product owners that are new to role and just haven't had the training or someone sit down and explain to them what the expectations of the role are. So I would say it tends to be one of those three. So either a big mix of conflicting priorities, a lack of teaching and support in the role, and measures or metrics that aren't conducive to a good product environment.
How do you go about working with these product owners? I mean, that's one of the things that you like to focus on. So how do you help like these three different types of anti-patterns? How do you help product owners overcome this?
Yeah, it really depends on the situation. So most of the time, if you're a Scrum Master, you tend to be working with product owners that are really keen to learn and to listen. And so it's about building that relationship one-on-one to say, what is it that you'd like to learn? What are the things I can help you with? And what's the best way of doing that? So some people are really happy to take direct feedback, and they want that feedback on a regular basis about how they've run a particular session or how they've communicated with the team. And so knowing that up front as a Scrum Master is really helpful to then know how to support the product owner. Others might prefer to go away and learn it themselves and then come back with thoughts and questions. So being able to point them in the right direction to either courses or reading materials, or, as I say, podcasts like this one, and then have a discussion about it afterwards to share both sides and think about how you could implement that into the work. The trickiest one is probably metrics and measures. So that is one that as a Scrum Master, you could and should be thinking about the wider ecosystem around your team. And so there may be opportunities where if you've got a group of Scrum Masters that are working in the same division or value chain, they could come together with some suggestions about how to change the metrics or measures. So if you are able to, it would be good as a Scrum Master to build relationships with senior leaders in your area so that you can flag some of these potential issues and ideally work with the senior leaders and the product owners to make sure the measures and metrics are reflective of what they need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that comes to mind is that if the Scrum Master is not aware of what are these big metrics or goals that are given to product owners, then we can't actually help the product owner, because the one of the things I often think about is that, you can get the product owner to help the team if you help the product owner get something that they need to get. And that could be like a change of metrics, but it could also be a mechanism to actually get to that goal that they have been given, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, it's in a similar way to understanding where teams and stakeholders are coming from. It's often useful to try and sit down and figure out where the metrics have come from and why they've been designed the way they have. Rarely do people go out of their way to suggest metrics that are going to be detrimental to a team or an organization. They usually come from previous experience where it's worked or a good idea about how to indicate something. And it's understanding why those metrics have been suggested and put in place. And then to understand whether those are the right ones. And if they are, what is it that the product owner and the team can do to reflect on them and make sure that they are acting on the indications that are being given to them?
Absolutely. Enough talking about the negatives. Let's focus on the positives. So, Paula, share with us, what's the best example of a product owner, someone whom you've worked with and they were perfect for the role? Describe them for us.
The best examples of product owners I've worked with tend to be very clear communicators. So, whilst that in essence is one skill, so speaking clearly and effectively, it touches on lots of different areas when working with the team. So it's really crucial as a product owner to make sure that you're sharing the vision and the long-term plan and the ambition. And so product owners that do that really well are often very repetitive in that sense. So they'll talk about the vision, they'll talk about why the team's doing what they're doing, and they'll continue to repeat that. And that's really effective in that if you've got new joiners to the team, or again, if you're virtual, sometimes you're not always listening 100% to what's being said. So being really repetitive about why you're doing something is really crucial to a message landing and keeping the team motivated. The other area that I've seen that be really powerful is in feedback. So where you've got a product owner that is listening to the team and the work they're doing, and they're reflecting on how the team's performing and how the individual is performing, and they're giving helpful, constructive feedback as to how the individual can improve. So that often looks like coaching, and that's where a good Scrum Master PO relationship is crucial, because you can think about the best way to encourage good performance. The product owner is usually in quite a good position to say, this is something I noticed, and you as an individual, please keep doing this. Or this is something I noticed, maybe next time let's try this instead. And both that focus on the product itself and the vision and where it's going is crucial and is all about clear communication. But then also at the micro level, thinking about those individuals in the team and how they're doing and how you can support them is again about clear communication and making sure they feel heard and that the product owner's views and perspectives are understood as well.
Absolutely. Feedback, such an important skill for us, but also for the product owner. Paula, we're getting close to the end. But before we go, do share with us, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
I'm on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, Paula.Dunne is my profile. And that's where you can find out more about me.
Absolutely. Paul, it's been a pleasure to have you here on the show this week. Thank you for sharing all of those insights and lessons learned. And thank you also for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Very welcome. Thank you for having me.
One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over. But there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.